So levelling up the playing field, I announced this, I think, at Common Hall and mentioned it briefly at the installation dinner, and where things are hotting up in that space. So this is giving people the opportunity to get into the insurance profession, people that may otherwise have missed out. And I am a cyclist. Everybody knows I've done a lot of cycling, so I call it my 3 spokes on a wheel to try so I can remember there are 3, and they are to do with Newham Borough, neurodiversity, and the military. And I'll explain each of those in a bit more detail. So Newham Borough. So this really, I know that there's a lot of schemes that often involve other boroughs in London. But Newham, for me, the reason I've selected that one is really all about one individual, and that's Boaz of Her. So Boaz and I met. He came through the brokerage charity, and we met a number of years ago now. And he was a chap looking for an opportunity, looking to get into the city. And of course, the great news is he had an opportunity through here at Miko office, and then we got him. He then got himself a job at Markel and Chaucer, and he's now a very successful political risk underwriter. And he and I get on extremely well, and he's a lot better dressed than me, because I know once he was a tailor, and he's a very sharp dresser, but we get on really well. And he wants to give back to other people from where he came from, Newham, to have the same opportunity, to show other people that, look, you can have access to the city, it is possible. And so I said to him, well, put your money where your mouth is, be my champion for that particular spoke. And that's what he's doing. So he's going to work with the brokerage, a charity that we, the Livery, already support. And he's working with that charity. He's also working with Jane Evans, who's our livery contact with that charity. And there's a lady called Sarah Davenport, she's their CEO. And they're our main people involved. But we've also hooked up, so to speak, with one of the Common Councillors, a chap called Naresh Somper, and he's chair of the Education Board at the City of London Corporation. And he's very keen to help in that space too, which is a good job, because we'll need a venue, and rather hoping that we can twist his arm to let us use Guildhall as a venue. And so at some point in July, probably, we'll have 60 to 80 keen teenagers from Newham, some from Newham generally, some maybe from Newham College, and we'll have them, and we'll be giving them a taste of a career in insurance. And this is classified as outreach. Some people will be familiar, that's what this is, but it's very tailored, if I can use that pun, because this is Boaz giving back, and he's a great man, great speaker, and I know he'll do wonders for me. There will be a Masters series, and I'll come on to that after I've spoken about all 3 of my spokes. So my next spoke is neurodiversity. And this is really about, we all know neurodiversity is a whole range of matters, from autism perhaps at one end of that range, to dyslexia perhaps at the other end of that range, and a few other aspects in between. The thing about anybody on that neurodiverse spectrum is really it's just about thinking differently. I'm dyslexic, and it's amazing in a group of people you suddenly find that most of you seem to have one of those aspects, and there's a lot of people who are neurodiverse to one degree or another, but they're also hugely creative people, and I think really at the end of the day it is about just thinking differently. So what I'm keen to do is just focus attention so that people on that neurodiverse sort of spectrum have equal opportunity, and indeed are encouraged as creative types to get involved in the industry. So my champion for this one is Eric Johnson, and Eric is working with GAIN. GAIN is the Group for Autism Insurance Investment and Neurodiversity, and Barbara Schoenhofer is very involved with GAIN, and we've also got Francis McGee as their CEO. So they're going to be putting together an event for us. We're hoping that particular event might be at the Old Bailey, and we're discussing that with the sheriffs at the moment, Greg Jones and David Shaw. So that's the neurodiverse space. What I'm trying to do in all of my themes, I should say, is I'm not trying to create anything new. We're just trying to shine a spotlight on something. In the first one, of course, I've spoken about it's a spotlight on outreach and what the brokerage do. And in the second one, it's a spotlight on what Gain actually already do, but perhaps people aren't as aware. So my third spoke is military network, and as a son of a Royal Engineer and as somebody who did serve in the military briefly, although I don't talk about it that much, I'm very pleased to have put some effort into doing something here for ex-military military people and personnel. And so I've got my champion Dex, who's an ex-major from the Gurkhas, and he is my champion for this. And he is, more recently, we've appointed him, as you know, in our livery as our overall chairman of what is currently the Military Affiliation Working Group, MORG, which isn't a very sexy name, and I think pretty soon we'll be able to agree that will be known as IMIL going forwards. He's going to be working, in fact, with Gary Langley, who's Honorary Colonel of Middlesex Cadet Regiment, and Lady Florence, Mayoress Florence King, who, as I think most people know, is a reservist. And Gary and Florence are keen to work together with Dex and do something in order to show ex-military personnel, and of course the firms who would recruit ex-military personnel in particular, that we can do more in that space. And of course something is already done in that space, because there is an organisation known as Lloyd's Military Network. It was originally called Lloyd's Military Network. I should emphasise it covers Lloyd's and the London market, although it's badged as Lloyd's Military Network. So the whole insurance market. And the idea there, of course, is that's currently run. The chairman, Dom Sweeney, is working with Dex. Dex is already involved with Lloyd's Military Network. And we have another military figure, a friend of mine, Air Vice Marshal Ronald Munro, and Ronald is very happy to help. He's obviously head of the Reserve Forces on time, and he's very well connected, and he's happy to help glue that together if we need his support. And those are the three spokes. They will all have a master's series, and we decided to do them all one after the other as a trilogy in June. So there's 3 Mondays in June, and they'll be one after the other on those 3 areas. And I hope everybody can join to hear what Boaz and Eric and Dex have got to say, and in fact their guest speakers. It will obviously be people from those worlds telling us what they're going to be doing. So that'll be the Master Series. And we were delighted this morning, Sarah and I, to interview at a fireside chat Sue Langley, Alderwoman Dame Sue Langley, and Gary Langley. And really interesting conversation I think we had, and I hope members would agree, I'm sure members would agree. Interesting to know Sue's journey in the industry, and as an alderwoman, and as sheriff, and as Lady Mayor, subject to election. Very interesting comments, and also, of course, very interesting to hear about Gary and what Gary's been doing, very much in the judicial service, very much their time at the Old Bailey. And it is quite clear, and quite rightly, I think, that they will be a double act and support each other through what promises to be a very exciting year for them and for us as insurers. We're looking forward to it. So what are we doing to help in this year of preparation, essentially? Well, we're doing a number of things. And I'm pleased that early on, obviously next year, Sarah Farrington, our senior warden, will be master, more or less crossing over with Sue Langley as Lady Mayor. And so early on it seemed appropriate that Sarah would champion our working group, looking at what we were doing for Sue and Gary Langley. And she's done a magnificent job pulling things together. So just as a little insight into what Sarah's been doing, we've been doing as a group, is we've looked at things like there's a portrait that the Lord Mayor, Lady Mayor has to be commissioned. And these things take time to organise in terms of selecting what sort of picture you want, which artist you're going to use, and where it's going to be hung. Which, if you're a livery with a hall, that's easy. But we're not. There are other things we need to do as well. There's a big presentation dinner which takes place where the great and the good come along. We get told, I think, who most of the guests are going to be, but we pay for it. And this is something we need to organise, something that has to be, it's not in October, something that has to be in the diary well ahead and needs a lot of organisation. And that's something we're obviously talking with Sue and Gary about. What sort of dinner do you like? They're normally very formal, but it may be that she wants to do something different. So we're having early conversations on that. And, the other thing is Sue is a member of 3 liveries. She's a member of Drapers, and she's a member of Goldsmiths, as well as being an insurer. We're her mother company, and that means we're her first company. That's known as her mother company. And really that means that the responsibility for assisting Sue from a livery perspective is with us. But of course, Drapers and Goldsmiths are very keen to be involved, and we welcome them being involved. They're 2 liveries with elegant halls and 2 liveries that are very keen to talk with us about how they can support and join with us to support Sue and Gary in their year. And in fact, we have a meeting coming up talking to them about some of the detail. It's all about planning. It's all about having discussions early on. And that's something which I have to say Senior Warden Sarah is very good at, and very good at advanced agendas, very good at getting topics on the table and some straight talking. And this is something she really brings to the party. And Sarah, I know, will be an absolutely excellent master when her time comes. David, it's been delightful talking with you today, covering my theme for the year, and also talking about the work that we're doing for Sue and Gary Langley in particular, raising money as well for them. So I've really enjoyed this. I could say a lot more about what we're doing as a livery, but I think that's probably enough from me for today. But I would like the opportunity perhaps to come back and explain what we're doing in terms of some of our new groups, working groups, and perhaps on the next occasion I can touch on them in the areas of sustainability, entrepreneurship and innovation, that sort of thing. And I'd like to give more detail on those perhaps next time we chat, and let people know how we're getting on with preparing for Sue and Gary Langley.